What's up, everybody? Today we got the HIMSS TMT Global Conference. Um, for starters, I'm just gonna kind of go over the markets with you guys, and then the conference doesn't actually start till 1:50. So as people get in here, I'll talk about what I'm looking for out of this conference, what I want them to talk about. The big news of today, as many of you guys probably know, is going to be the eucalyptus deal was finalized. So that's exciting. I don't really know how much they're going to speak on it because, it just got finished. I don't really know if they're going to give us expectations, I guess, for what we can expect in Q2. But we might get a little bit of an idea of what revenue, if any revenue at all, will actually be realized in this quarter. And if they are, you know, maybe they'll raise the guide of 680 million to 700 million, which would be nice, but I don't really expect them to touch it at all. They'll probably just tell us pretty much we get what we get. That being said, I got the markets right here. So we'll go to HIMSS first. $28 has been kind of like the resistance slash support. It's been flipping, but you can see we're trending higher and nobody's talking about it. And it kind of reminds me of Zeta. I was posting that chart a lot. Deleted I deleted if I go here, but I had been posting this chart, memeing it because we last week we kept getting, if I can even find the trend line, we kept getting up here. Yeah, that looks about right. And we kissed the trend line twice, and so I made some memes about it. But then, as soon as it broke, we absolutely broke. But nobody was talking about it. Everybody wanted to keep talking about AI infrastructure plays. That was the hot topic. And I think the same thing's kind of happening with HIMSS is it has so many catalysts going forward. We want to hear about peptides. We want to hear about uh, global expansion. And then you also have the GLP-1 catalyst now with the Novo partnership, and the Novo oral solutions doing better than the solution Lilly just put out. So there's a lot of catalysts here, and you got the steady uptrend. If you can flip 28, that's huge. We'll see if it moves on this conference at all. But flip that, make a new trend higher, and just keep going up. We just have to pass this last trend line up here. So, um, yeah, I'm excited for that. But market's been kind of flat. We got a rent up. You got SoFi down, nothing new. Seeing if that can just continue to hold that 1720 support. You can see it here. Yeah, I got a trend line. It's constantly kissing it. And no, this line's not new. This line's been here since, back in this day. I've not touched this chart. I don't really even make lines anymore. Um, so that just shows you how reliable these lines have been. And I'm just looking forward for it to keep it. Maybe it kisses one of these MA lines. Maybe it makes a new, keeps moving higher, or maybe it consolidates. I don't really know. None of us really know. If they say they know, they don't really know. Why is my screen doing this? There we go. And then Pagaya, Pepsi. I'm actually looking to re-enter Pepsi. I sold at 160. Yeah, I sold up here. I sold at 160 when it started break out during the Iran stuff. People were hedging with it, selling off, but earnings is improving. If I go to their earnings, last year was like a flat year. They did 93.9 billion. It was up 91. I guess it was EPS that was flat. Yeah, EPS decreased by 2 cents, but they're re-accelerating, so I think the market will recognize that, and it's been suffering for some time. You can see right here, and you got the long-term trend line, and it's heading towards it once again. And they increase dividends every year. You can't beat it. It's more of just like a safe haven play, just because if I can swing it instead of buying the index and getting 8 to 10% on a good year, or I should say 15% on a good year, I'm gonna take that, collect my dividends, and I'll be happy. Meta, That's one I'm getting interested in. Uh, but low key, I'm not a TA guy, but it kind of looks like reverse head and shoulders. We might go higher. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I've thought about selling my root and buying a leap or something on Meta. It's just been consolidating since 2024 now, but ended 2024, so pretty much a year and a half. And the P is like 20. Can't really beat it if it gets in the teens. I don't really care what the chart looks like. I'm just gonna get in at that point. And honestly, I'll probably get in before even next earnings because I'll be too scared that's gonna pop on it. Enphase has been going crazy ever since they did the data. They're doing something with data centers to help with power. I don't know the specifics. I haven't looked into it really. I just kind of know the headline and why it's been running. I remember everybody loved Enphase um, back in, yeah, I guess it would have been 2024, but definitely 2022. And a lot of retail, I want to say, lost money on it. But it's making a comeback. Palantir's making a little bit of a comeback, but it got rejected. And this is what I'm saying. So Palantir gets rejected on its chart. ServiceNow got rejected on its chart. Adobe and Salesforce are starting to find their support. And so I really do think Zeta, with the strengths it's showing today, and it's holding that 2450, like this re-rating's real. Um, and so I'm excited for the next just week or two to see where it consolidates. I could see it, making this the bottom, and I would be happy. You got tops here. I just don't want to see it break back down because then you are probably headed to 22. And if you consolidate in that range, I guess like it's chill for what we've had to deal with. But there's been worse. What up, Bob? What up, Danny? So the global it starts in 8 minutes. We start in 8 minutes. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I want to hear in this conference real quick. So the first thing is I want to hear about the eucalyptus deal. Are they expecting any revenue in Q2 or not? I don't really expect them to speak on it, but it's a bonus if they do, and it's something that could move the stock because I don't think the market really knows how to price it in. They're waiting for earnings to see the impact on it, but if they can tell us what they are expecting in Q2 and maybe even talk about the full year guide, that will be big. Continue to talk about wearables. They mentioned they want to get into wearables in Q1, but they didn't talk about their strategies. They didn't say if they were going to partner, if they wanted to engineer their own solution. So that would be interesting because I do think now would be an interesting time to maybe roll out a AI wearable. And not just like AI that you have and you talk to it kind of thing. Like if building in AI to the wearable to help you translate your health data, and then you also have an ecosystem that makes it easy to read that data, and you have the agents that HIMS are rolling out to help you interpret it all. I think that would be a really cool concept nobody's talking about right now. That would differentiate it from Aura Ring or Garmin watches, Apple watches. Apple's not really a real player in this, in my opinion. Apple's more of a people love Apple, so they buy whatever they sell kind of thing. Um, so I want to hear about their strategy on wearables. Um, Peptide rollout. We've gotten ideas. They're not going to rush to market, but I do want to know. They said they don't want to rush to market, but do they plan on doing internal tests to prove the effectiveness of these peptides, or are they more just taking their time because they want to ensure safety and compliance with peptides? So a little bit more talk on their plan on rolling that out would be nice. And then the other thing I want to hear is when is the weight loss agent coming out? We have lab agents. They said weight loss would be next, last earnings call. When can we expect that to come? And what other categories are they launching agents for? Um, And yeah, that's pretty much everything I'm looking for. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know what you guys are looking for. Because yeah, those are the main things I care. Oh, and I want to know about hormonal scale. They mentioned they had tens of thousands of customers now on testosterone, but they didn't speak at all about menopause scale when they were talking about it. So, is Andrew stepping on stage? I'm not sure. It did not say. I can look, see if it says anything over here. Uh, it does not say anything on the page. So I don't know if they have the CEO talking or the CFO talking. But I can. Let me look this up real quick. Because I was actually wondering the same thing, but I didn't see anything in the post, so I just kind of assumed. And yeah, I agree. I want to hear about peptides too. Peptides could definitely move the stock. You're a month away from the July meeting, and so that's going to be a huge catalyst the market's looking for. Will Andrew Dudum be speaking at the TMT Global Conference? I also think it's weird that if Andrew Dudum is speaking, I don't like that he doesn't post on his X. Like, I will be speaking at, the TMT Global Conference and, like, tune in. Like, David Steinberg makes it known every time he speaks. It says there's no confirmed listing that Andrew Dudum's speaking. Conference speaker roster is still company driven. So, we don't know for a fact if it's going to be Dudum speaking or Yemi speaking. It's unconfirmed. So, it does say is confirmed. Yeah, so it doesn't confirm. I hope it is Dudum speaking though. I like when Dudum speaks. I think he's an underrated speaker. Yes, I'm going to share the screen. I'm just waiting for it to actually be 150, which actually it's 147 now. I can share it now. While we wait. I am hoping this is a video and it's not me just staring at the screen, but it looks like it's just going to be a presentation. Are you looking forward to anything today, David? Anything specific? So far, we've talked about wanting to see hormonal scale, anything about peptides and how they plan on launching it. Hopefully some news about eucalyptus. How is Canada doing? I would love to hear about that. We know what the app rankings look like, but to actually know how many more subscriptions we're getting through the Canadian market now that you have organic semaglutide and also Novo semaglutide live there. Bob, I think you just turned into a degen, bro. You going from day trading to full porting. Looking forward to listening about peptides. Yeah, that's the big one. But I do want to hear about Canada specifically. Now that that's launched, just to get an idea of how many people are signing up, so you can scale out that revenue going forward, and hopefully maybe we'll get a stock pump. We need to flip that $28. That's been the huge, just like when you're up above it. Oh, here we go. So it's Yemi speaking. It is Yemi speaking. Where are my headphones? And let me know if you guys have an issue hearing anything. Let me know right away. But it should all be fine. Because I haven't touched anything. Actually, I think Hims could flip back towards $50. I think $42 could become strong support once again. That was strong support before everything kind of fell apart and we gained a lot of headwinds. So that's kind of my major end of year target as we try to get back to profitability. I'm trying to make sure because it's 150. I don't know if it's just my headphones not working. $42 could become strong support once again. Okay. That was strong support. I don't think they've started, but it is 150, so I'm like. It hasn't started. It's not coming through my headset. It's not even coming through my computer. I'll refresh though. Yeah, it hasn't started yet. Yeah, I wish we could see him on stage too, but I think it's just going to be a presentation. And it's Yemi speaking anyways, so. I'm wondering if it's really going to start at 2 p.m. and they just put 150 for people to turn it on. Um, I'm looking out.
We're on. All right, it's Mark Mahaney at Evercore ISI. I gave a commencement address this weekend. I mentioned AI, and I had to spend the next half hour shouting over.
Let me make sure you
tell me if I lost my voice and a couple of plane rides, but I'm back. I could use Hims to get a little healthier, and I'm going to use Hims to get healthier. We're thrilled to have Yemi Okupe, who's the chief CFO of Hims and Hers, and we're going to go through a series of questions. I'll try to leave a little time at the end for Q&A. Yemi, thanks a ton for joining us today. And just before I get into, we'd published a bunch of questions as part of this conference prep, but just before I get into some of the questions, you want to just give us your view on what 2 or 3 things investors should focus on when it comes to Hims?
Yeah, sure. I think what I'd focus on, is the fact that there is, an amazing opportunity in front of us to transform the healthcare space. I think more and more consumers are just taking control of their own health. It's one of the things that's most important to the day-to-day lives, like how you look, how you feel, and show up to society. And so I think Hims and Hers is positioned with a closed-loop ecosystem to be a part of that transformation. Thus far, I think we've had a lot of success, but I think in terms of the opportunity in front of us, with elements such as better leveraging our data, broadening the specialties that we have, and now international expansion, I think the sky's really the limit for the opportunities in front of us.
Okay. And then I always like it when companies lay out these lofty goals, or big goals, or concrete goals, I should say. And you've done that for 2030. Just talk through what those goals are, and then maybe we'll start, and we'll come back to this a couple of times, but we'll start the process of asking how you get there.
Yeah, sure. So I think that last year we laid out very ambitious 5-year targets that were really more of an output of the opportunity in front of us as opposed to an input. And so those goals were to deliver at least $6.5 billion of revenue and $1.3 billion of adjusted EBITDA by 2030. When you look at the components, that are, in front of us and just how large of a TAM, healthcare is, that's what gave us, the conviction. And so our ability to execute on the key growth levers that we historically have outlined will be an instrumental part of meeting or exceeding those goals. And so what are those? Those are looking to expand internationally, which we were pleased to welcome the Eucalyptus team to the Hims and Hers family this morning. It's continuing to broaden the specialties that we can serve consumers across. As we deepen and broaden the specialties, there's the ability to have more and more of a holistic approach to helping our subscribers look and feel better on a daily basis. I think that, with the advance of technology, we're seeing the benefits that provided in terms of removing friction to access to healthcare. I think with the scale of data that we have, the ability to further elevate the overall consumer experience and democratize concierge type care becomes more and more achievable over the next couple of years. Partnerships remains an important element. We were very pleased to with the success of the Nova partnership that we recently launched, and we'll look to continue to expand those as well. And then lastly, just continuing to deepen the personalized care that we're able to bring to consumers. So I think if we're able to execute across those 5 levers, the 2030 targets that we have will be a derivative and more than achievable.
When you talk about them being ambitious goals, I think that's the adjective that you used. Which was more ambitious, the 6.5 billion in revenue or the 1.3 billion in EBITDA?
I think collectively, both are ambitious, but I think it's more of an output of executing across what is a very ambitious mission statement. And so I think that is, to make the world feel great through the power of better health. The levers that we spoke around of being able to go global and being able to elevate the consumer experience through empowering them and their providers with access to more data, setting up partnerships, around the world to deepen the experience and the breadth of choice that consumers have. I think Hims & Hers has always gone after very ambitious things: the ability to personalize medication, the ability to build our own EMR system, from the ground up, the ability to structure data to better serve consumers across the healthcare ecosystem. So this is largely in line with how the company thinks and pushes to make the consumer experience for healthcare better and better for consumers.
You mentioned the Novo Nordisk relationship. You just want to give us an update on that?
Yeah, we disclosed within the first few weeks of launch, we added north of 100,000 subscribers to the platform. With the addition of that partnership, what we do see is that when we're able to pair breadth of assortment with the overall deep experience and tools on the platform, really a magical experience comes together for our subscribers. And so we're seeing very deep engagement where north of 85 to 90% of people are downloading the Hims or Hers app that come to us for weight loss, as well as the engagement with providers is really deep. So I think the typical consumer is engaging with us 5 times within the first few weeks of onboarding. That's a level of care that's almost impossible to get for all but the wealthiest segments of society in a brick and mortar setting today. And so I think that it truly is transforming the access that consumers have to better and better care.
Is this a template for other types of deals?
Yeah, I think that we would look to continue to broaden the partnerships that we have across the platform. I think also with us being one of the few healthcare players that has global reach across numerous markets, now Australia, Canada, the UK, Germany. I think that enables us to just have a different partnership, both with domestic players, but also for many of the players, whether it's large pharmaceutical companies or others, more often than not, they have global ambitions, and we're one of the few players out there that have the ability to meet that need.
Okay. You talked about international. So, I don't know, you had one of these data points. International revenue grew nearly 10x in Q1. Now, you had some acquisitions, I think, that are in there, but still, that kind of growth is unusual. Talk about not the sustainability of 10x growth, but the sustainability of robust growth for the next couple of years, and how is that, and to what extent that's organic versus acquisition?
Yeah, I think that there's an immense opportunity here domestically in front of us still, but also from a global perspective. Many of the themes that hold true in the US, while the regulatory landscape and nuance may change, the overall principle behind human beings fundamentally is consistent. And so consumers around the world want to feel healthier. Consumers around the world want to have an amazing experience, and they want to do so in a way that is efficient and is not encumbered by friction. And so as we look to expand globally, we took our time through launching in the UK several years ago, really learned how to navigate the regulatory nuances of a different market, how to navigate differing consumer preferences and a regulatory landscape. And with that, from those learnings, we were able to continue to scale more broadly. And so when we look at the arc and the trajectory of the US and how that scaled, I think with the platform that we've set up from the acquisitions that we've already acquired, the Livewell, Zava, and Eucalyptus, that gives a very robust foundation for continuing to elevate the consumer experience and ultimately establishing a leadership presence across many of these geographies. And so we're very excited by what's in store across the global opportunity in the years to come.
Eucalyptus just closed this morning?
Yes.
I must have missed that. And on time, ahead of time?
It was roughly in line with our expectations. There was some uncertainty around the exact timing of the close, but I think with the strong execution across both teams, we were able to close that in June.
And talk about the what sort of impact we should expect from that acquisition?
Yeah, so Eucalyptus was just given the uncertainty around the exact timing for when the deal would close. We did not include it in the guide. We did disclose at the end of last year the run rate revenue was roughly $450 million, and the business was growing the triple digits in the triple digits last year. And so we think that it's going to be a meaningful accelerant. But when we really look at what's most exciting, it's probably less of the direct financial opportunity. And really, it's the fact that you're bringing together two teams that are culturally very, very similar, two teams that share a very ambitious mission of fundamentally restructuring how consumers are able to access healthcare around the world. And so I think the combination of the Hims and Hers team as well as the Eucalyptus team truly is going to accelerate the way that we're able to reach consumers around the world. And so it's something that we're very excited about.
You talk about are there synergies here, or is it more of an add-on business?
I think that there are, synergies, not necessarily in the traditional sense, like where we're looking to combine two like for businesses and do a ton of cost cutting. I think the synergies really are around, again, taking the teams that are culturally very similar and leveraging the different points, for where we can learn from each other. So I think the Hims and Hers ability to scale multi-specialty and expand into numerous specialties is something that many markets around the world can benefit from. And then the Eucalyptus muscle of being able to go in and launch new markets. They've been avid players of being able to scale the branded medications. I think is something that Hims will benefit from. And so I think it's really putting together these two forces. I think that's the real synergy. Is it accelerates the breadth and the ability to bring a better experience to consumers around the world.
You're going through a little bit of an investment cycle this year. I think that's the right way to phrase it. So just talk about what are the biggest areas of investment this year, and is it a 1-year investment cycle? Is there a way to think about how long it should extend, whether it should extend into 27 or not?
Yeah, I think we are consistently, investing. I think that our focus is less around how do we manage on a quarter-to-quarter basis, but fundamentally, how do we make investments that pay off with long-term yield? And so maybe it's helpful just to kind of give an overview around how we fundamentally think around the capital investment priorities, and then rewind that into how we think that this plays out. Historically, what we've seen is the team is really great at setting a foundation where efficiencies are able to come with scale. You kind of see this in 2022, 2023, where the business was able to switch to profitability very quickly and expand margins from negative margins to double-digit EBITDA margins as a result of these principles. And so I think right now we're entering a similar phase, like where we're leveraging some of those principles, but I would say that we are looking to first and foremost become the market leader across each of our specialties. How do we expand market share and serve more and more consumers, both domestically as well as in the international markets that we serve? I think one of the things that also enables us to be powerful is the fact that with positive free cash flow, we're able to control our own destiny. That is something that we also, do want to retain. And so while we will continue to invest to expand share, we'll do so in a way that's thoughtful and disciplined, that still enables us to generate that positive free cash flow. From there, when we think around, okay, what does the investment cycle look like? I think our ability to establish a leadership position across each specialty, each market, will be the priority. From there, we expect to then realize economies of scale. So if we take individual markets as an approach, ultimately, some markets will be heavier investment opportunities, and ultimately over time, those will switch to become the future profit centers, for the organization. When we look at where the investment is going, I think it's really across a few areas. The first being we'll continue to invest and scale our international operations. We expect those to run roughly collectively at break even in the near term, but over time, for many of those markets to become the future profit generators for the organization. We've invested very heavily in our technology team, and we expect that to continue to yield. So we've hired some of the best minds in AI, some of the most distinguished engineers that have enabled the overall platform to move much faster. So our ability to launch 3 specialties last year, menopause, labs, and low testosterone, is a reflection of that. And so I would say that you can continue to invest. You can continue to expect us to invest in technology. Continue to expect us to invest in scaling our international markets. And then lastly, the combination of those two, elevating the overall consumer experience, both domestically and internationally.
I want to ask you about AI, but first, so you made this comment about the goal is to be the market leader in each of your specialties. Grid this out for us. Which specialties do you think now you're closest to being, or you are, or closest to being the market leader? And which specialties do you have the most work to do in order to be the market leader?
I would say, across most of our specialties, we are very close to being the market leader from our vantage point. I would say that we're probably in the very early innings of certain specialties, such as weight loss, just as the consumer market continues to grow and expand. It's not something that we can sit and rest our laurels around. I think that where the power really comes into play is the ability to combine the breadth of specialties that we offer that few other players do, to truly become this closed loop platform that elevates the overall experience for consumers. And so what does that structurally mean? It means the ability for a consumer to maybe come to Hims for one condition, get insights into their health, and discover treatments for elements that they may not even known. And so using myself as a real example, as I've undergone lab testing and looked to optimize my own care, it became very apparent to me that the ecosystem is very fragmented. So you can go do a test from one provider to interpret what that actually means. The traditional healthcare ecosystem is usually not equipped for that for most players, as opposed to being a partner of that experience. Oftentimes providers are asking, well, why are you doing these tests? So that leaves consumers to either, if you're fortunate enough, go to concierge level doctors, or leverage AI, or do some combination of those two. Then if you structurally find what you're able to, or what is the appropriate treatment, you need to find a path to go get treated. Hims & Hers has the ability to remove all of those friction points over time and democratize that experience, from the labs to obtaining the insights to having the provider network and solutions to act upon those. And so I think the real magic is our ability to bring those together in a consistent experience for consumers over time. And I think then at that point, it's as you have a leadership position in each of the specialties, that gives you the right to do it and potentially discover new specialties for our subscriber base, to help them improve their overall health.
Okay. You mentioned AI a couple of times, so let's go to that. Just talk about the uses of AI to drive cost efficiencies, to improve, to boost product development, and to actually create new revenue opportunities?
Yeah, I would say I think there's a few buckets. I think AI, definitely has the potential to elevate cost efficiencies, whether that's how we think around the expense of CX that can be manual or customer experience operations. At times, we're already seeing an ability for AI to start to transform the experience. Number one, get consumers access to answers faster, but at the same time do so in a way that is more and more cost efficient. I think what's even more exciting, though, is the way that AI can elevate the consumer experience. When consumers come to any healthcare provider, one of the first things that they want to know is, has this solution worked for someone like me? The breadth of data that we have across our platform increasingly can help consumers with those types of questions, as well as equip them with tools to improve their overall experience. So to give real examples, of what exists today and what that could be, with over 2.5 million patients on our platform, the wealth of data that we're getting from things like labs, what treatments have worked, what treatments have not worked, can enable us to help consumers get to the right treatments, the right dosage levels, that ultimately elevates retention, that represents an opportunity for us, but at the same time enables consumers to benefit. We also see the opportunity for things like the recently launched Lab AI Companion that helps go through that experience and interpret the results, as I mentioned. And so over time, I think I would expect more tooling for consumers to roll out. We'll continue to use AI to leverage cost efficiencies across the corporate organization, as well as the consumer experience. But really, the ability to elevate the consumer interaction with the platform, I think, is what's the most exciting, and also is where the most financial benefit over the long term will be driven from higher revenue and ultimately higher margins.
Let's talk a little bit about, let me switch gears a little bit on capital allocation. So the setup here is that you've got, $300 million in operating cash flow, $225 million in CapEx. So, modestly positive on free cash flow. When you think about the uses of cash going forwards between organic investments, M&A, and shareholder returns, what do you want the right balance to be as you, what do you want investors to think you're thinking about in terms of the right balance?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the priority is always going to be around, durable growth. And so I think that we have continued to grow the platform in a way that is, both sustainable and durable. And so continuing to invest across the levers, both organically, as well as through M&A and things such as international, the technology experience that consumers receive on our platform, as well as partnerships and setting up those that ecosystem, will be something that's critical for us on a go-forward basis. We've been highly acquisitive over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, and so a lot of the focus right now from an M&A perspective is around integrating those acquisitions in the ecosystem to truly be a success. We'll put investment around that to ensure that each of those is successful. But the first priority will be growth. We still have left ourselves the flexibility through our buyback program to return capital to shareholders, when there is a disconnect between the market value and the intrinsic value of our stock. But for the time being, when we look at the opportunity in front of us, the potential for growth is truly immense and something that we want to lean into and ensure that we are able to benefit from that.
I'm sorry, on the third one, in the returns to shareholders, that's how did you want to weigh that versus the other two?
Yeah, so in terms of the priorities, that we laid out, those are going to be the priorities. We will return value to shareholders, but right now the ROI on many of the investments that we're making, we feel will be quite high.
Okay. And I may see if there's questions in the audience. In Georgia, I may call on you. You know the asset very well. When you talked about M&A, yeah, you have done a lot of M&A recently. Does that make you, how should we think about your M&A plans over the next 12 to 24 months? You're in consolidation now, so you should be limited M&A, or is you're just going to be just as opportunistic now as you were the last 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, I think we hold a very high bar for M&A. I think what's less exciting for us is to acquire assets just for revenue purposes. Every M&A deal that we do serves a fundamental strategic purpose. I think that we would not, if an amazing strategic opportunity emerged, I don't know that we would not pursue it as a result of having done M&A. What we would look at is the capacity across the organization to take on something new, and what is the strategic value that it serves. So I think we would still be open to M&A. That said, I think the focus is going to be how do we take each of the assets that we have, ensure that they're properly integrated to bring forward the full value. So eucalyptus, that is setting up the ability to scale internationally across each of the markets that we're currently present in. We're very excited by the YourBio acquisition and how that can ultimately make lab testing more accessible for the masses through removing the friction of going into a facility today and allowing consumers to test from their own home. CS Bio sets a great foundation for us to go explore and go into peptides as the regulatory landscape permits. And so really over the course of the next 12 to 24 months, the focus is on ensuring that those assets are productive in nature.
Let me ask you this last question. We put this in our report. Long-term strategy. So for investors who have followed Hims and Hers through a lot of different changes, this multi-specialty expansion, GLP-1 ramp, international M&A, AI build, what do you want investors to most take away from these about you and how you're managing the business between now and 2030?
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaways would be, number one, the opportunity in front of us is immense, right? I think healthcare is something that is fundamentally one of the most important things to consumers around the world, and thus far in many markets has not necessarily been the greatest experience. And so I think that Hims has already removed a lot of friction historically, and has the ability to continue to remove greater and greater friction for consumers around the world. I think the second thing is, across our capabilities, truly believe that we are one of the few players that has the scale, has the technology, has the talent to transform that experience through many of the things that we talked about. The global scale that provides the ability to deepen partnerships around the world. The data that's structured across the platform to equip AI models to elevate the consumer experience and help providers better pair consumers with treatments. And so I think our ability to maintain those advantages is what gives us the ability to help reshape the healthcare and health and wellness space that ultimately enables a line of sight to the 2030 targets.
Okay. Georgia?
Labs and testosterone menopause, with each of them being framed as kind of $100 million plus revenue opportunities on top of an already kind of broad multi-specialty platform. How are you guys kind of, weighing the pace of category expansion against deepening monetization within existing specialties, and what's the kind of internal framework you're using to decide where to lean in next? Is it kind of TAM? Is it attach rate? Retention, impact?
And you'll need to kind of rephrase that question.
Yeah, sure. So the question was effectively around how do we balance monetization of the existing specialties with the nascent specialties with new specialties. I think what we are seeing, so we'll maybe answer just, first the first part of the question, which is how the new specialties are doing. I think they're tracking in line with our expectations. So we see a lot of success from specialties like low testosterone, as well as labs. I think how we think around balancing core / or the existing tenured specialties with the new specialties. I think the two are actually fairly correlated, right? And so our ability the way we think around it is less around launch this new specialty at the expense of another specialty, and it's really more around how do we broaden the way that we're able to serve consumers across the platform. And so I think what we've observed by that is as we brought in specialties, consumers are proactively deepening their engagement with us across the platform. As we also add more specialties, the data set that we're able to get around how do we treat consumers across more and more specialties also broadens as well. So I think from our vantage point, we look to thoughtfully deploy, capital across, each area. But when we really think around what is a differentiated benefit for where Hims and Hers, benefits from, it's really this concept around shaping a platform that enables consumers to come and benefit in numerous ways, whether that's the technology tools or coming in from one specialty and then being able to get treated for another. I think that the two actually have synergies with one another. The final component that I'll say is I think that with labs and some of the other specialties that we've introduced, historically, Hims and Hers has focused on the things that you can see, right? Things like hair loss, weight loss, sexual health. Increasingly, with the data that we have on the platform, as well as with the rollout of labs, we are moving into a world of where you're able to help consumers prevent and optimize, their health. So for things like low testosterone, you can't look and say, I have low testosterone. The ability to remove the friction of needing to go into a facility, every multiple times a year to do testing and enable consumers to test from their own home, identify if they have low testosterone. As an example, how we remove the friction from consumers in an existing specialty. And so I think that the two are actually correlated with one another. We view it more as build a platform that has multiple touch points with the consumers, and ultimately that's a differentiating force that enables Hims and Hers to win.
That's helpful. You touched a bit on your competitive advantages and kind of how to be able to build the scale that Hims has so successfully built over the past couple of years. If you could really nail down what your, I guess, moat is in an age when people are coming up with new concepts and AI tools are allowing startups to come to market at much greater speeds than we've seen before. What do you think is Hims' true competitive moat in today's environment?
Yeah, so the question was really around what is the competitive moat around Hims and Hers? I think any company that tells you that they have one single thing, it's not a moat. And so I think that the Hims and Hers has an ability to take something that's incredibly complex and make it look really easy. So when you think around, the elements that we've built, the infrastructure, the scale that also gives us access to data to better treat consumers, that is a distinct advantage that Hims and Hers, has that very few other players have. The ability to lay a global foundation that also extends, the reach is something that no other player has out there. The provider network, is also something that we fundamentally benefit from. I think one of the assets that's also, underappreciated, or two that are underappreciated, is the first, is the brand that we've historically invested in that's drawn consumers to the platform. That is fundamentally key because when you step back, you're putting things on or in your body. Consumers want to know that it's safe, it's effective, and I think Hims and Hers has done a great job of establishing that trust with consumers. The final component is really just the data, where we've built an ecosystem where fundamentally the platform gets better with each consumer that comes to the platform, and each data set that consumers are providing to providers enables us to better treat them. So I would say it's the combination of our ability to execute across several things, the operational excellence to build the infrastructure that we've historically talked around, the richness of the data set and the scale of the data set, and the technology talent that we have to translate that into a elevated experience for consumers. The global reach now that we have across the platform, and the brand. When you look at what it takes to actually replicate all of those, whether you're a large player or a startup, that is a lot to execute on that we've built over the course of the last several years that I think will continue to be a differentiating factor for us as an organization.
Makes a lot of sense. And then I guess my last question is on the economics of the Novo Nordisk partnership that you guys announced on kind of the Q1 call. One, can you kind of refresh us just structured similarly to Novo Nordisk and kind of like I guess, the brands you're distributing in the US? And is that how we should think about Canada as well?
Yes, I think the question was around the economics of the Novo Nordisk partnership, and then the Canadian concept. What does that effectively look like overseas in Canada as well? I think on a dollar basis, the economics for the previously compounded products in Novo Nordisk are relatively similar. So there's two components when a user comes to the platform, that they're paying for. One is the cost of the medication, and given the engagement, the tools, the ability to engage with the provider, there's also a membership fee on the weight loss products as well, for roughly $149 a month. That membership fee is what enables consumers to access the provider. It's what enables consumers to access all of the tooling that we have across the ecosystem. We're seeing a lot of success with the pairing of those elements, that results in an economic profile similar to what we previously distributed before. With respect to Canada, we've always seen some consumers on the platform still prefer branded products. We've sold both branded and generic sexual health products and products across other specialties as well. And really what we found is giving consumers a breadth of options is fundamentally what results in success. And so Canada, we're pleased to offer generics. We also offer that alongside the branded medications as well. And that enables consumers to work with their provider to identify what's the right treatment for their preference. And we've seen a lot of success with that so far.
Okay. Yeah, Yemi Okupe, Chief Financial CFO of Hims & Hers. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, that wraps that up. Honestly, hold on, I'll raise this. I didn't catch any of that intriguing until they talked about the economics, literally the very end, when they talked about GLP-1 economics being pretty similar to their compounded offering. Assuming that's true, that's really bullish to hear. I guess we should see it showing up in the financials soon, with the payback period being 6 months. So Q4, hopefully that starts to show up in the financials. And yeah, that's it. Literally, I learned nothing. Like, you guys can tell me if you guys learned anything. There was barely any talk about peptides, which was disappointing. Like, not even a question. Like, they didn't even, ask. And then the AI stuff we already know. It kind of, bores me, because it's cool that we have agents to talk to inside the app, and that knows your data, but does it really make that much of a difference? Versus just talking to a doctor on it. I guess it helps them not have to be so proactive, and maybe it helps them focus on other things. Then you had them talk about international expansion with eucalyptus. They didn't say how much revenue that was going to bring in. They didn't say how much it's bringing in right now. They just told us what we know from 2025, that they do $400 million in revenue. They didn't tell us how fast it's growing currently. So once again, they dodged that question. And they didn't tell us what to expect for Q2, Q3, Q4 with that. So that was disappointing. They were asked about the scale of new products with current products. They didn't update us on how hormonal scale was actually going. They just said it's going as expected. Well, what did you guys expect? So that was disappointing. What else? What else am I missing? They didn't tell me anything. And the stock's bleeding. I think we're just gonna have to wait for earnings, and And kind of to update you guys here on how I feel about HIMS and my holdings is I'm bullish. I think things are lining up. I don't know if they still want to keep things tight to the chest until we can actually see it in the financials supporting it. But I am now taking this earnings to earnings basis and execution because the path to success is right there. They just have to execute. Um, they talked about the Nova partnership, but it was also nothing new. It was they're doing 100K a month. We already knew that 100K plus a month. We already knew that. They told us 125K on the earnings call. So that was still nothing really new. We already knew that app downloads were increasing. They talked a bit about user engagement being up with the weight loss. We kind of suspected that already, but I guess it's good to get confirmation. Um, and they didn't really tell us much. So it's up to execution at this point. And that's what I'm going to be watching for earnings. It almost felt like going into that, Andrew Dudham told Yemi, "Don't say too much." Like it was the most like I'm going to repeat the question back to you, and I'm not going to actually give you details. And so Kiwi said, "I think we'll get another unexpected catalyst before next earnings. They like to drop surprises here and there." I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, even the eucalyptus deal, it seemed like they purposely announced it before this conference. But that's almost why I'm disappointed they didn't talk about it more. Like, you knew you were speaking today. You dropped the news in the morning. Like, give us details about, even if it's not what to expect in this quarter or end of year. You mentioned that they were growing triple digits last year. So why don't you tell us their growth rate currently? We don't have those numbers. So through Q1, are they, growing 10% quarter over quarter? Or is it flat? I don't suspect it's flat. I don't even suspect. I mean, I suspect a slowdown, but even if you tell me they're not growing triple digits anymore, they're growing 60%. Like, that's still good, and at least I now know. And then also his comment again about what they were doing for investors to return capital. It was a weird response in which I'm not really mad because we know that they are investing back into the company heavily, and they're going to scale later on into like 2027, 2028. We're going to start seeing scale again. But the way he was just like, yeah, we have buyback options for them. And like, that's all he had to say, not because of our heavy investment, we're going to expect margins to continue to expand. We'll continue to invest back into the business that are accretive for investors. He didn't say any of that. He was kind of just like, it almost seems like screw the investors. We'll do buybacks when it's back in the teens. Like, cool, I guess. Like, I don't know. And they've kind of been nonchalant about, we don't care where the stock price is at, this, that, and the other. And then you have Dudham selling at 60 after the tweet thing. It just doesn't look good. Like, I'm invested, but I'll be honest, that does not look good. I don't know how you guys feel about that comment, but that's how I on it. Like, if I'm just being transparent, because I'm never going to say good stuff just because I'm in the company. I think there's a lot of catalysts going forward. You have peptides, you have international coming on. This company is a maybe 5 billion market cap now. 5 billion market cap, doing over 3 billion in revenue this year. Once you actually get eucalyptus fully on the books, going in next year, they're going to be doing 4 billion in revenue. Yeah, I mean, they were buying back in the 30s, and then they continued, and then you have Yemi continuing to sell under the buybacks. So I don't know. And then Dudham's too scared to buy shares. Yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing. But I am looking forward to, it's June, so next earnings it's going to be early August. I, I'm excited. I mean, you have 11% base base quarter over quarter before they priced in any of the eucalyptus stuff. I really do think they're going to be more towards the high end, which is about 13% quarter over quarter, if I remember how I did the math right. So you got that as a tailwind. You got the 6 month payback period. So everybody who got onto the Novo GLP ones right away, you're being told the economics are essentially the same as compounded. So that growth should be just as accretive as we saw in Q1 2025. Like that growth should be just as accretive. So we could definitely see, profitability and all of that really come back to the book strong. And then that's only going to help the hormonal line. It's just weird they won't talk about it. And not only will they not talk about it, the Kaisertrex was supposed to launch in Q1. Then they started giving us, it might be more like Q2, but you would expect like early Q2. We are now almost done with Q2, and they don't even talk about it. Like, it's not coming. It's like, at this point, it's not coming. They blew up another partnership. Which is annoying because they're all about partnering, but then they give Novo the hardest time ever. They still haven't partnered with Eli Lilly. And then you can't partner with a testosterone company who's partnered with Crunch Fitness. And then they won't speak on why it's not happening anymore. Like, did they want too big of a chunk and you're just showing them that they need your platform? Like, just give us an update why. At least Nova, we knew what it was about. Do you think Eli Lilly deal before next earnings? No, I do not. I don't think Eli Lilly will. I think Eli Lilly will take time. As long as. And I also think they want to launch Retta to see how big of the market it can eat by itself. And then if Retta's struggling, similar to their oral GLP-1 solution, then I suspect that they may start looking to partner as Novo continues to eat market share from them. And Kaisertrex is part of a company called Marius, I want to say. Kaisertrex provider. I want to say it's Marius. Kiwi, if you know, you can put it in the comments. But it's essentially oral. It's oral testosterone. It's one of the hottest on the market, and they announced last year in 2025 that they had a partnership with them as they were hyping up the testosterone launch. They told us it would come early 2026, which everybody assumed Q1. Later on, they pushed it back and said early Q2. Ever since, they have not said a word on it. And it's the hottest testosterone product on the market. And if you want to offer the best solutions, you should be offering the best products. The Fondo pill launch did flop, and I think it suffered by not being first to market. But I also think it's suffering because of the coverage. You got Hims, advertising that they now have, Novo. You got Roe advertising it. You got Novo itself advertising it. When no one's going to advertise an Eli Lilly product when they're not getting a cut. Like, there's no point in it. Why not just flood the market with, oral semaglutide? And if that's what everybody sees, they're going to just assume that's the go-to product. Like, that's how advertising works. The more they see it, they're like, oh yeah, I gotta get on this. Like, it must be better. Very few, sadly, when they, start using something, actually do deep research. And even if they do, they're going to see how effective one is over the other. They're going to see the few cons, and they're going to be like, oh, well, everyone seems to be doing this. Like, this must be the hot thing. Like, I see it everywhere. And that's what they pick. Like, advertising's stupidly simple, but it goes over some people's heads. And eventually, Eli Lilly's like, there's no doubt in my mind Eli Lilly's gonna partner at some point, because you're just not going to get away with, because even Retta, how many people do you actually think are aware of Retta if you aren't some peptide junkie? Like, I've never heard anyone, even nowadays, I talk to normal people who are supposed to be buying these products. They barely know anything about GLP-1s alone. Like, they know it for being a fat weight loss drug, but then when I bring up other peptides, they have no idea about any of that stuff. And then even when someone does seem to think they have an idea, they think I'm talking about like collagen and like ashwagandha, and it's not the same thing. Founder of Kaiser Tracks has been extremely hush hush about partnerships too. Yeah, so I don't know. That could be other thing. Maybe, um, the company of Kaiser Tracks, who I do believe is Marius. I'm going to check that for you guys. Kaiser Tracks. Yeah, it is Marius. So I had it. It's Marius Pharmaceuticals. So yeah, maybe it's a them issue. But even then, I would like, they might not be able to say that much, but even we plan on still getting this to platform. Uh, we've just run into some obstacles that has nothing to do with our relationship. That would make me feel better. Like, he did do an interview with Him's House a couple months back, but back then that was still during 2025. So it was still like before the launch. Now that it's delayed, I feel like you owe it to the investors, to talk about it. Be like, we're behind track. It's still coming. Um, this is a new timeline. We've ran into a roadblock. It has nothing to do with our relationship. But that's just how I feel about it. And it's not like the biggest issue, but I think it's weird when you know how people interpret hymns doing partnerships with others. I think people have a bad taste in their mouths with it, because you've had a total of, what I want to say, outside of like the sleep, the whatever sleeping thing they're partnered with. I forget the exact name. But the sleep things and like the MyFitnessPals and like just like the additive partnerships, like I don't really consider those real partnerships, because at the end of the day, from what I'm aware, those aren't done like on app. Like, it would be cool. Like, when I said I wanted MyFitnessPal, it would have been cool to have it in the app so they have that data. Yeah, Sleep 8. But like, those partnerships aren't as like intriguing to me as like actually getting like a new product that people are gonna subscribe for. Yeah, and Pronovo, and people are gonna subscribe for, and it's gonna like meaningfully bring in like a mass audience. Like, I don't see people flooding the markets for Sleep 8 or Pronovo. Maybe I just don't understand the value of it yet, but I mean, even the people talk about Sleep being the next big product line, and I just want to warn everybody now. People were saying the same about testosterone and how, the GLP-1 roll-off is going to be fine because hormonal treatment's huge. And yes, hormonal treatment's huge, but people hyped it up like it's going to be the next, big growth driver. It's not that yet. And I hope it is, but I think we need Kaiser Tracks. And like I said. But I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. But I'm saying that because now I'm seeing Him's house build up hype for sleep, and I just don't know how many people are really going to obsess over it, like how that market's actually going to grow compared to the hype. And we're just going to find out with time, and I don't think it's something that's going to change in a year of how people view it, unless if you can bring some like real science about how important and like how big of a necessity, and it's going to add this many years of my life if I do this. Like, that'd be something, but I don't think any groundbreaking articles or studies are going to come out that's going to change the average person's view about, yeah, I need a subscription on sleep. Because at the end of the day, most people don't even have time to get their 8 hours of sleep because of slaving at their 9 to 5 job, and so they kind of just throw in the towel. But that being said, if you guys have any more questions, drop them below. I'm about to hit the gym, so I'm about to end it. But I'll give you guys a couple more minutes if you guys have any other questions. Or anything else you guys want to talk about that was mentioned in this conference. I also still gotta eat. I'm gonna see what the markets are doing right now. While I wait. So, Hims 2740 didn't move. Makes sense. Thank you, Danny. Hims 2740. Zeta held the 2450, which is huge. I think we can consolidate up here. No problem, Danny. I enjoyed it, man. I love talking about Hims with you guys. Streaming is one of my favorite things to do because not everybody wants me to talk their ear off about him, so it's fun to have a collective group of people wanting to talk about it with you. So Hims didn't really move. Zeta holding 2450 big. Iran's fading gains from today. Not a cute candle, but it is up 1.7% while most of the market's red. SoFi, I think I'm going to sell more cash secured puts here. I actually will probably do that as soon as I get off stream. And then, yeah, the rest of the market's not doing much. You got Palantir down 5%, makes me even more bullish because now I'm going to look at, more bullish on Zeta. For those of you who know I'm in that, because you got now still down 7%. You got Adobe sitting on support right now, which could be a sign that Zeta's going to be on support. Could be finding that support at 2450 because I also believe Salesforce hit support today. So, SAS could be bottoming and Zeta's holding all its gains. Kiwi said, I love talking about Hims too. Been keeping up with you on X too. Keep up the awesome analysis. Thank you, Kiwi. Love interacting with you guys. I'm glad I got to do the stream with everyone. And I thank everybody who's tuning in. I also love, I see, if people don't know this, whether I do follow Kiwi, I'm like guaranteed I follow Kiwi. But even if I don't follow your content, I promise, when I'm talking with people and interacting, and people have probably noticed, like, I'll go through your content, I'll like a bunch of stuff, and like I'm always reading what everybody in the community's saying. I want to know where everybody's head's at, and interacting with everyone. It's really just, it's just fun. Like, it gives you ideas, and it kind of helps you create this own roadmap, and then you get to kind of align that with what management's saying, and it either feeds your thesis or it can make you discouraged. And I think that's why, like, and it's okay to be critical. Like, I feel like people on X don't think you can be critical, and that's just not the case. Like, if you're not critical, then I just don't think you can be a successful investor. You need to know when the company is letting you down to position or downsize your position possibly. And I feel like there's a lot of people on X, they pick their tickers, and once they pick them, they marry them. And then whenever something goes bad, they feel like they have to fight the bears when you can come into agreement to be like, yeah, that was not good. Um, is it these? And then you got to reflect: is it thesis breaking? Not all the time it is. Most of the time, I feel like it's not. Uh, but like I said, for me at this point is the roadmap for HIMS is laid out, and it's now down to execution. I gave them slack in 2025 in their transition, but now it's down to execution. And if execution at some point fails, that's thesis breaking to me. Because what other tailwinds at this point do you need? Especially if you're gonna tell me economics are good with the partnership, pretty much the same. You got peptides coming. That's a catalyst we've been waiting on forever. Um, and since you've only grown revenue, you've only grown subscribers, so by that point, you're in a better position than you ever were in 2025 when the stock was trading $60 and $70. So why can't we 2 to 3x from here? You know. So that being said, I enjoyed this stream with you guys. I'm glad you guys tuned in, and I'll be talking to you guys later on X.